Throughout his time in the public eye, Jeffree Star has been a MySpace celebrity, aggressive pop-punk musical artist, inflammatory makeup mogul, dishonest YouTube A-lister, and even the meat overlord of a yak slaughterhouse. A storied career that completely defies what society had expected of young Jeffree, who had humble, small-town beginnings as one of the satanic, murderous children, worshipping a demonic entity lurking in the cornfields. 23andMe called, they said that you're 50% Swedish and 50% children of the damned. But despite all of Jeffree's blood sacrifices of both human and yak varieties, in the last few years he felt his grip on the YouTube beauty community start to slip, which led him to abandon the platform in favor of more noble money-making ventures, such as bullying strangers on TikTok Live while begging for tips from teenagers. But now, after almost a full year of Jeffree screaming into his phone for 8 hours a day to earn pennies, Jeffree Skinwalker Star has made his return to the YouTube with a reinvigorated motivation to create long-form content, while hopefully reconnecting with the only subscribers he has who might still be willing to drop a significant chunk of change on his latest makeup release. Because it seems like those Gen Z kids over on TikTok are more than willing to drop 99 cents on a digital animation of a rose, but not so much $50 on an unwearable collection of red eyeshadows and liquid lipsticks that make you look washed out and flaky. Today, Jeffree is pushing the special 10-year anniversary collection of garbage that marries his slow flop of a makeup brand with a nod to his rapid flop of a music career, which took place back in the 2010s. So settle in as we fact-check the uninteresting oral history that Jeffree spouts off along with a few humiliating name drops, his paltry palette launch, and the uncomfortable clash between his ear-splitting new TikTok personality and his old YouTube studio, now 90% more underlit and unflattering. So put in your Halloween contact lenses and grab your pink manic panic, because as Jeffree would title it, we're having a slumber party massacre, cotton candy killer, beauty queen bandsaw to the face, lollipop of instant death installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it down like the eras of a very uneventful music career funded by Akon, so that we can look at each individual chapter and artistic exploration and decide whether it's worthy of going on tour with the likes of a Nicki Minaj, some other band, and the skinny jeans that funded it all, or if they're just musical flops that will fade out with the trends of pop music and we'll all grow up and start listening to something real. And today, we're not gonna be listening to something real. We're gonna be listening to Jeffree Star. I remember he teased a few months ago that he was back in the studio, which for him means like throwing his licorice arms around, being like, oh yeah, I'm rapping, but it was on mute, so we couldn't hear it. And I openly wondered on Twitter the other week, I was like, did Jeffree Star drop a launch date for his music, or has the whole project been scrapped due to honest feedback? Nope, it wasn't scrapped. He was saving all of that good sonic content for the release of his Beauty Killer palette. Beauty Killer was his first makeup palette, apparently 10 years ago. It was also the name of his album about 15 years ago, which is why Jeffree has returned after 10 months of inactivity on his YouTube channel to give us the behind the music of his music career, detailing how Beauty Killer came to be and how it led to the makeup. And then he announces the products, which I was like, oh no, Jeffree Star Cosmetics is hurting these days. I would venture to guess. But before we get into all of those details, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. That lets me know that you want to see even more behind the musics here with me on Clip Breakdown. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. Have you noticed that YouTube is just like showing you the same videos again and again, like videos that I've watched 3 times, and then it'll come back on the algorithm, and I'm like watching it, and then I'm like, why am I watching this one for 4th time? Like, show me new videos. So one way to counter that would be to click subscribe and make sure that only the freshest of fresh things that I say are blossoming in your ear gardens. Also, I've got merch, new merch, Halloween, that I'll get into a little bit later, and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus things. But this is not about the merch I'm trying to shill to you. It's about the merch Jeffree Star is trying to shill to you. Who are you gonna spend your money on? That pale garden snail? He looks like a slug that got salted. And he sounds like a bull that is about to charge me down because he yells now. So let's take a listen to Jeffree Star explaining why he's back on his channel after months and months of inactivity, and maybe cover your ears for this because he's like literally on one.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Hi, how are ya? Yes, you guys, I'm back.
Okay, settle down, Jeffree. There's no need to yell at us like we're fans at one of your meet and greets. If it weren't already true, then it's official. Jeffree Star has become the kind of on-camera personality who believes every single sentence is only as interesting as the volume that it escalates to. Or as I like to call it, screaming for no reason. He stepped into this archetype probably as he developed this inflection to help him further his career on TikTok, where he's been exclusively making content. But it just feels a little jarring and out of place here on YouTube. I mean, I'm sure on TikTok, yes, the arbitrary wailing does come in handy when you're trying to set yourself apart as the only 60-year-old haunted house goblin in an app made for teenagers, and it's a time-tested technique that has worked for many other forms of entertainment. For example, medieval puppets and Japanese game show hosts. However, whenever Miss Jeffree Lynn raises her voice throughout this 20-minute YouTube video, it just sort of highlights how there's nothing else interesting on the screen and he's just trying to keep us engaged.
I'm back! I'm back! Years ago! Oh my god! Beauty killer! Mini eyeshadow palette! Has the album cover on it! Mini palette! Musician! Jeffree Star!
Jeffree Star! That makes me laugh every time. I just feel like it starts to lose its impactfulness when Jeffree yells every other word at us and not just the racial slurs at some lady down the street. Jeffree's TikTok voice is how I would sound if I was being held captive and forced to present on some home shopping network. But one day I heard the search party right outside the entrance to my hidden bunker, so I had to try to get their attention without tipping off my kidnappers. If you can't choose between the shade custard and biscotti, no worries. Just call in, our operators are here to help! You won't see a great deal on creamy concealers like this anywhere but right here! I'm right here for the love of God! And let me remind you, yes, this is makeup, although it also contains luxury skincare benefits! Oh, damn it. Welcome back, I'm Jeffree Star! Like, girl, you better not scream into that lens anymore, I swear. Like, who fed this one after midnight? She's getting ornery. I can't help but wonder if the reason Jeffree Star is returning from his 9-month leave of absence from YouTube is because TikTok just isn't pulling in the same money anymore, or TikTok just isn't producing enough sales when he uses it to promote a new collection. Either way, the business still makes millions of dollars. It's not like Jeffree Star was gone on like an unpaid leave. Not that you could. In many states, I'm not sure about Wyoming, but I think family leave is really important for workers. I've been in a situation where you're working and like you can't go home for a funeral because you have to work. 14 states and Washington, D.C. have made it mandatory to offer family leave to your workers, and another 9 states have a voluntary family leave system that is funded through private insurance. Like in Minnesota, in 2026, they're launching a new paid leave program which combines paid leave and family leave so that people can get paid time off when they have a serious health condition or you need to care for a family member or a child. It's different in every state, is what I'm saying. Be aware of your state's leave laws and make sure that you're advocating for family leave across the board. It's good for everyone to have, and we don't live in a capitalist dystopia for nothing. I'm paying into that. Let me get some benefits when my grandma dies or whatever, or I have a baby. Whatever. I said whatever because that means whatever. Before we can reveal the collection, which I'm telling you not to get your hopes up, Jeffree Star talks about how he got his start in music back in the days like 2006, 2007, when he was already one of the biggest stars on MySpace. He found the coolest, toughest, don't make them be friends with me type of band you could ever find.
On MySpace one day I was clicking around and I met these dudes. They were called Hollywood Blvd.
What in the white supremacy skateboard squad? Why is Jeffree in a group photo with the... Why is Jeffree in a group photo with the extended family of Jason Voorhees? And also the Phantom of the Opera, I guess? And sure, it almost seems progressive that this alternative band with way too many members would collaborate with a bona fide hot topic shopping androgynous gay man, but are we all obsessed with the optics of him being the only one who was asked to wear a surgical mask? Those guys said, this isn't the music your old man used to listen to, okay? We recorded one song and took 2 photos with the palest, most mean-spirited homo in all of Huntington Beach. Does that make you uncomfortable, America? Well, us too, which is why we weren't in the studio at the same time, and we have him carry a bottle of Purell in case he accidentally touches any of us. I live in an area of the country where it's very looked down upon for gay men to wear any sort of fragrance. They don't even wear deodorant out here. It's musty. And I'm not always here for that, especially not in tight, hot spaces like my car, which is why I'm big on making sure my car always has a fresh fragrance to it and nothing cloying or artificial. I remember I put this lilac air freshener in my car once that was so overpowering that like the thought of the smell makes my gag reflexes go off, and people would get in my car and be like, oh, why does it smell like trash bag Flowerville? So it's safe to say I'm pretty particular about what I use to fragrance my car, and that's why I'm so excited to once again share with you the sponsor of today's video, Drift. Drift creates air care products for your home and your car with a focus on sustainability and very high quality. This month's fragrance is called Surf Rider. It is just about time for me to replace my current Drift cartridge, so we are going to open this up and see what we're working with. Ooh, that is so fresh. There's like a citrus note to it, but also that salty beach air that I love in a fragrance. This is so perfect for the summer. It literally reminds me of driving to the beach. Giving me happy vibes. And look at this beautiful piece of wood. This is what holds the essential oil fragrance that you will be smelling for the 30 days that this is meant to supply your car. Surf Rider is definitely a new favorite of mine. I loved the winter fragrances as well. That's the great thing about Drift is it's operating on a monthly subscription. You are first gonna get this metal visor clip, which your Drift perfectly magnetizes to and just looks beautiful in the car. And then they'll send you a refill every 30 days. I love their scent of the month, which gets you a new limited edition scent, usually tied to the season and evoking the natural elements or the emotions and feelings surrounding that season. That's hitting with the summer one so well. I'm gonna love this forever. I wanna bite it, but I'm not gonna. All the materials that Drift uses are sustainable, natural essential oils and fragrances, and all of the prices range from $9 to $15, so it's super affordable. Definitely in line with what I used to pay for these like clip-in air fresheners that would go on my air conditioning vent and just blast this artificial fragrance into my face. As you may know, when you're sending your environment, there is such a thing as nose blindness. Like if you just expose yourself to the same fragrances every day, you'll eventually stop noticing them. And the scent of the month feature is a great way to combat that nose blindness and always be refreshing your fragrance story and making sure that you are able to enjoy this lovely product. The subscription is very flexible. You can change your scent of choice, the frequency of delivery, you can skip an order, or cancel your subscription anytime you like. You're not gonna get locked into something that you don't want, but I swear, like, you're gonna love the way your car smells so much. It's a no-brainer for me to keep this on a subscription, but again, I'm very particular about having an expensive, lovely smelling car and an expensive, lovely smelling life, so that's just me. Make sure to use my coupon code DiRamioTV for 55% off at Drift. It's less than $5 for your first month. Thank you so much to Drift for sponsoring and keeping my car smelling amazing. I feel like if you have a keen eye, you can tell there's something off about this video, but we'll let it come up naturally.
So one day on a very boring day in Los Angeles when we were all broke and doing absolutely nothing, we wrote a song called Turn Off the Lights.
And after watching this video, almost 20 years later, it's clear that nobody has figured out how to turn those lights back on. I'm not sure if Jeffree like disassembled his YouTube setup to make room for whatever TikTok selfie stick he's using now, but something about the composition and lighting for this YouTube video itself feels a little underdeveloped. Are all of your employees out on the ranch slaughtering yak? And there was nobody left over to help you mess with your camera settings? Because this image feels just a few stops darker than it did back in the days where Jeffree was like primarily shooting YouTube. And of course, Jeffree has never shied away from an edgy aesthetic, but maybe that could still be accomplished without the edges of the camera's frame line looking completely off-center. You're leaning a little far to the left there, Jeff. I feel like I need to watch this whole thing with my head cocked. And the uneven spotlight on your backdrop is not doing you any favors. Jeffree, you used to have all of these hot young women handling your social media. Did any of them happen to survive the vampiric youth-sucking ritual that you make sure takes place each year on their birthday? No? All right, well, we're not getting any more good candidates from Craigslist because the townsfolk keep warning them to flee as they approach the castle. By the way, who else lives in a haunted castle? Maybe witches do sometimes, which is a perfect segue to talk about my merch design for Halloween. Bad witches only, rich witches only, independent witches only. I love this design. It's got a faux vintage kind of look to it, and we've got this proud witch dancing in the flames. But that's just one of several Halloween options that I have for you this season. My absolute favorite design is Halloween sleighs for the girls, gays, and theys. Just to let the world know that we got this on lock. Cishet men, you can go home. You can have 4th of July or some ugly holiday. This is a faux cross-stitch design featuring 3 iconic she, gays, and theys who are just rolling into town for the Halloween season. You can get this on stickers, there's other accessories. I love the stonewashed tank top. I think it's really cool and vintage looking. And then for fun inside jokes, I have 3 more designs. They are all parodying movie posters based on things that we talk about here in Clip Breakdown. There's the Hello Television Viewers contemporary horror movie poster parody, just letting everyone know that I'm always watching. I also have Attack of the Terrible TV, which is a 1950s inspired poster of these like robotic aliens, but they're really the TV show Christ Warriors, which just sounds terrible. Inspired by one of my favorite works of horror fiction, War of the Worlds. And then of course there's Toast, which is a psychological art house horror film parody about my dog Toast and her obsession with any noise she hears out that front door. You can check out all of these merch designs down below and make sure you place your order within the next 2 weeks or so if you want to make sure to have these in time for Halloween. But definitely don't wait if you want to be wearing your Halloween merch designs all month long in October. Speaking of things that go bump in the night, let's check out how Jeffree did his face back in the MySpace days. I'll give you a hint. Really alabaster skin, lots of highlight under the eyes, and a taser in his handbag that he would use to coerce young men into having sex with him. Allegedly. This is the guy who's on his high horse with all these other dramas and scandals. Anyway, we know Jeffree loves to rewrite history. Here's him doing just that.
Now let's fast forward to 2006 and 7. I was one of the biggest names on MySpace.com. It was the epitome of social media back then. It is what TikTok is back then. It was absolutely insane. I got a lot of attention. I was very outspoken, very still who exactly I am today.
Oh, an openly racist, violent sycophant with a growing list of horrifying SA allegations? Oh wait, no, that's the person who you're 100% different than nowadays, according to your old apology video. He meant that he still like dyes his hair and stuff, I guess. It's hard to find a more clear-cut example of deflection as Jeffree Star calling out fellow beauty YouTuber James Charles and going on and on all the time about how James Charles is a predator for chasing after straight boys and admitting to sending texts to 2 underage people. But Jeffree is the one to go on this tirade as though he's not the one with dozens of articles written about him with witness testimonies about how Jeffree, who at a time when he was older than James Charles is now, would threaten men with tasers so that he could perform non-consensual acts of on them, or bribing homeless teens to come live with him and then coercing them into sex. I'm not excusing what James Charles is accused of, but like there are even more credible stories and more active ones against Jeffree Star. Although several journalists have insinuated that it appears as though somebody is paying off these witnesses like the day before they talk to the press. So it seems like someone with lots of money and unscrupulous morals is buying the silence of his alleged victims, especially since he preyed on people who were already in financially vulnerable situations. They were roommates with nowhere else to go, they were homeless teens on the street, and they all just magically retracted their statement right before they could get involved in any article that would expose Jeffree. But Jeffree is so persuasive with his revisionist history that he feels absolutely fine and comfortable pointing fingers at people and bringing up his past as though it's some wholesome walk down memory lane. Like it's a good-spirited teen in a rebellious phase. He's a lot like Donald Trump with his overconfident gaslighting. like Trump, he's not a bad marketer. He's kind of the master of that moment of softness, that come closer moment. It's really common in infomercials, and it's like where the host kind of invites the viewer into their vulnerable space and gets real with the audience. Listen, we all know how hard it is to keep a busy family running on schedule, and sometimes serving a healthy meal feels downright impossible. And when do you get to have some time for yourself? These are the questions I asked myself before discovering the NutriBullet. You know what I'm talking about. There's lots of examples.
Before I discovered Sheer Cover Studio, there were days that I was so frustrated about my melasma that I didn't want to show my face in public. It was really painful. But Sheer Cover Studio changed all that. If it can hide my melasma and make my skin look this good, I know that it can do the same for you.
It feels very similar to whenever Jeffree Star is trying to get us to buy whatever he's selling.
There are so many things that you guys don't know. And you know me. If you've been following me for a long time, I am not a liar. All I know is honesty.
I believe him because truly honest people have to remind others how honest they're being all the time. By the way, I know he's talking in a lower volume, but don't lean in. That's a trap. That's when he jumps in with a Dementor's kiss. I've seen him do it to many a young wizard and witch. Next up, Jeffree gets into a little bit about the history of his music career. He was eventually signed with Akon Records, but then released when his album was not really going anywhere. I have a whole video on Jeffree Star's music videos, which got restricted, age restricted, so many of you might have missed it, so check that out. I'll link it below. But it goes more into the history of how Akon dropped him from the record label. And he's not the only high-profile person who was up and coming in the day who rubbed elbows with Jeffree and is now probably rubbed the wrong way by him.
Nicki Minaj is featured on my debut album. It is a song called Lollipop Luxury. Her verse is actually just next level. Little did I know it was going to be so monumental and she would change the rap game forever for the females. But baby, we got her on my album and it was really special. She thanked me in her Pink Friday notes when her massive debut album came out, which I thought was so special. And yes, we still show love to each other till this day.
And which day was that, baby boy? Were you talking about a day back in August of last year? When you sent her a sports car on TikTok, which is the equivalent of a $105 tip, and she didn't even seem to remember your name?
And Kyle Quinnar and 208. Thank you for the car. Oh, why am I getting all of these beautiful cars? I'm getting jets. Yes, of course I'm coming to the Philippines. I love the Philippines.
So yes, I think, Jeffree, you were showing love to Nicki Minaj, but I think Nicki Minaj was showing love to the Philippines. I love the idea of getting an extremely extravagant gift from somebody and your only reaction being, aw, thank you for the car. Jeffree goes on to finish it up. He's like, it wasn't the right time for my music career, so I fired everyone and I got into makeup and then I released the Beauty Killer palette and here's the 10th anniversary palette. And it's like, wah, wah. Not only did that story have a sad ending, but your eyeshadow palette is like the visual representation of sad endings.
Now let's open up Miss Lollipop Killer Mini Palette! Yes! She is very bright, she is very obnoxious. It's giving MySpace scene.
It's giving cardboard eyeshadow component. It's giving private label. It's giving rinky dink. It's giving eco-friendly compostable packaging. I'm not being snobby, but that is exactly what Jeffree Star would say about another brand who launched their 10th anniversary collection with 4 pieces that includes a couple lipsticks and a blush and a throwaway shade alongside that soggy when wet set of eyeshadows. This is the person who used to brag constantly about his custom shaped components, eyeshadow palettes that looked like coffins or treasure chests or alien heads. Yes, he's released cardboard mini palettes in the past, but as the extension of a collection with a more solid keepsake component. And while some people may appreciate the less wasteful packaging, to me, it's signifying that this whole collection was an afterthought. Like maybe Jeffree was planning to relaunch his music career for the 10th anniversary, but then he realized that he better pair it with some makeup so he can play it off as a joke when it gets 0 streams. That blush shade is not gonna work for most people, baby boy. He was gonna be the first one to blast James Charles for having a blush range that is too pale in terms of like the shade range, the skin tones that can use it. But then he's like, and here's my blush, bubblegum soot. But anyway, I guess we should round this out with a little sneak peek of the music that Jeffree Star is gonna be launching to us with all these records and collections with the makeup. This looks so low budget for Jeffree Star. I'm a little sad for him, because like, you floundering.
Internet celebrity, coined it, all wannabes. High heels, never trip. Swallow, never spit. Hi, how are ya?
How am I? Well, if we're not counting the last 20 seconds of audio that I had to sit through, I'd say I'm doing okay. But how are you, Stephanie Jar of Gemini Star Cosmetics? Because it sounds like you have music out where you're still bragging about having oral sex to teenagers. Only now it's over this beat that sounds like it was recorded by the bassoon player in a high school marching band. They said, boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Mr. Saxo beat. So all of that's making me feel like you're not thriving there, Jeffree. You're seriously pushing 40 and acting like the raunchiest sex act in your arsenal is something that many queer people discover in their teenager years with one of their best friends who eventually took a different path in life but still feels obligated to remain connected on Facebook for the entirety of their adult lives. No one wants to hear about your fellatio policies in your Harlem Shake sounding ass song that you're using to sell lipsticks, okay? You call yourself a rapper? He's like, I was inspired by Missy Elliott, the female rapper, so that's what I'm doing. Mama, this was the best you could do? As a designer bag-carrying yak breeder, if that's not enough reasons for you to be able to write about getting in the ass, then what are we even doing here? It writes itself. Hurt my f***ing back, partner. Breed me like my yaks harder. Some J-Star concealer hides the bruise, cover your tracks. But Jeffree Star's out here being cheesy, and he's like, MySpace, top 8, lip gloss, full face, spill the tea, live my dreams, as a really ugly celebrity. Okay, it's giving Sharpay from High School Musical too, but whatever sells you little cardboard keepsakes, you racist f***. Because that's all we have to say. This is a land for bad witches only. And Jeffree Star is not even a good witch, so I'm done with him. Are you interested in his music resurgence? It has like 4 songs on an EP, including a country version of some of his past music that, like, again, no one listened to. I think I listened to that Nicki Minaj song that she featured on with him from back then, and it was like, they were in different states when they recorded this, first of all. And second of all, it's like, girl, she was doing you a big favor. Don't drag her into this. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Also, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more breakdowns on influencer happenings. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. Hit that notification bell icon, that way you'll always be the first to know when I'm serving up a cardboard platter for you. Also, don't forget about my new Halloween merch options. You can check them out in the shelf below or the links in my description. Thank you, Drift, for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check out my link below. You're not gonna wanna miss this deal. I've also got a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus virtuals and watch parties and things like that. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you for getting Disco Blood Feast, high heel, stepping on the kittens and eating the candy, Murder Town. That's a Jeffree Star album. With me today. You guys are all the greatest. I will see you next time.